It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Eric Frandsen, JD Walker here on the Full Court Press. Thanks for tuning in, being a part of the show today, listening wherever you may be, whether it's on 106.9 FM, whether it's on 1390 AM, the 106.9 The Fan mobile app, or streaming on 1069thefan.com. Thanks for listening and being part of the show. And we invite you to be a part of the show on our Full Court Press text line to send in a question, a comment, a reaction, 435-339-0321. First hour here, we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about San Diego State, Utah State taking on the Aztecs tomorrow in a massive showdown in the Mountain West. And whomever wins this game is likely to be the front runner for much of the rest of the year to win the Mountain West regular season. But it's early, and this is only the second game of the conference schedule for both teams. Still a lot to be played between now and the early part of March. But it's a big showdown with the two best teams facing each other, and it's going to be on a national broadcast on Fox tomorrow afternoon. So we'll get into the storylines, kind of the information here, what we know about the teams. We played the full audio from Coach Calhoun yesterday, but there are a few pieces that I wanted to circle back to in our discussion about San Diego State today. And we'll also look at the bowl season. And, man, we've had some great bowl games.
Wow.
And we've had some good ones today. And will we have more good ones tonight and through the weekend? Let's hope so. So we'll update you on what's going on there. Next hour, so get this circling around in your brain. Next hour, we want to discuss some of the top sports moments of 2024. We'll look at a local level, high school level, USU, and we even broaden it out to national or even international if you'd like. But some of the top sports moments over the last year. And be thinking about that. Love to get your thoughts and reactions to some of the things that we came up with over this past, thinking back on the 2024 calendar year. But before we get into that, let's dial in a little bit more about Utah State and San Diego State. The top teams in the conference, certainly the top teams in the Mountain West Conference for the last few years. It's come down to Utah State and San Diego State battling for supremacy in the conference. And will they get conference play going again in a big way, in a big showdown in Viejas Arena, a place where Utah State has not been able to find success since the late 90s, before the turn of the century, JD. It's been tough. This is a roster of players that some of them have never played there. Coach Calhoun has never coached in that venue. So it's going to be a new experience for a lot of these guys, but still they've got to try to figure out how to get a win there, and it's been tough. And Coach Calhoun, earlier this week, kind of alluded to that it's a tough place to play. And just looking at San Diego State and the season that they've had, different characters, different players. They've had a number of mid-major players transfer in, and under Coach Dutcher, continue to play very well. And a very solid season so far for the Aztecs, with some big wins on their resume. And now they prepare for Utah State on Saturday afternoon.
Man, getting into this Aztecs team, they're really kind of some interesting stuff stands out to me, Eric. One of the things I found that the Aztecs have no one in the top 10 in the Mountain West scoring, rebounding, or minutes. Yeah, one of the top teams really doing it all together. And get ready to know this name very well. He is the top rim protector in the country, according to Ken Palm. Freshman Magoon Rath, he is something else. I remember watching him. He came out and got like 4 or 5 minutes very early in the season and had 3 blocks right away. And these are like Rudy Gobert, Dikembe Mutombo level disrespecting blocks. So that is, Eric, that would have scared me a little bit more if we were like a week ago. If we hadn't played St. Mary's and, they had Saxton, who is the big guy in the center, and our Aggie bigs, they did a good job neutralizing him. But this Rath kid, he is something else. I mean, he's going to be a dynamic player, but he's kind of feast or famine. Like, he's going to be there on the defensive side, but not really impressive on the rebounding. I mean, going for the block shots, it looks like kind of the highlight play, but not seeing a really strong rebounding from him and stuff like that. But he's the player, and then you've got the rest of the staff that just comes in and everybody seems to fill in around. And it's really, Eric, when I look at it, it's an all hands on deck making this team great. Yeah, it really is. And that's I'm totally with you there. This is what makes San Diego State special this year is, last year they had Jaden Ledee and they've had some other seasons where they've had like one super dynamic player and a few other complements around that whoever that player is. This year, it doesn't really look like they have that specific guy. I mean, I know that, Nick Boyd does some things. Miles Bird is a nice player as well, but they're not as dynamic. Like, they're not big scorers, like big scoring threats, but it is a team that goes deep. They use a lot of different guys. It's a pretty deep rotation, and Coach Dutcher is utilizing a lot of different guys, and it's a lot of different guys who chip in a lot of ways, similar to Utah State, that, Coach Calhoun likes to have a pretty deep rotation of guys, and because of this style of play, that's beneficial. He's not burning guys out. He's going deep into the well, throwing different guys at you, but continuing to be relentless in this activity. And that's one thing that San Diego State is up there too. Now, you mentioned Magoon Gwath, which is a great name. I don't know why. It just sounds cool. And he blocks shots too. Like, it's just awesome.
Gwath. Yeah, he is second in the country in blocks per game. And overall, he's 5th personally in overall blocks, total blocks. As a team, they lead the nation in blocks per game. They average 7 blocks per game. So this is, you're going to get challenged at the rim by this San Diego State team, but they're also good in space. So this is one of the things that's going to be tough for USU is finding ways to create separation, but also to not back down. Yeah, they may lead the nation in blocks, but they can't play intimidated by that. They have to continue to attack and put pressure on San Diego State to make those plays. San Diego State will make plays, but the Aggies have to continue to put that pressure on them, make a block, or foul me as I'm making my attempt.
So, Eric, I need you to therapize me a little bit on the other side of the ball. When the Aggies go to the rim, we've noticed a couple of tendencies to get those shots swatted or have those contested. Do you see this as an area of concern going into San Diego State? And, Coach Calhoun, a.k.a. Mr. Miyagi, he's got to see this coming. And they game planned for the size of St. Mary's where they were bringing all that size off. So, maybe I just therapized myself, Eric. Just talking myself.
I think you just answered your question.
Yeah, it's kind of, you've seen, our Aggies try to go to the hoop and bring it, and the size sometimes can make things a little difficult for that and finishing on that. Do you think that's going to be a problem against this Aztecs team?
I think that the perfect precursor for Utah State to prepare for San Diego State was last Saturday in Moraga, California. A bigger team, a team that protects their rim pretty well. And look, they got some blocks early. I mean, they made it tough on Utah State early in the game. St. Mary's did. But Utah State didn't change their game plan. They continued to attack. And then when when St. Mary's kind of adjusted how they wanted to attack the Aggies to begin the second half, where they woke up and were like, hey, we have bigger guys than them. Let's use our advantage in the low post. It wasn't sustainable because Utah State just kept making their shots and St. Mary's wasn't. And so I think Utah State should learn from what they already had success with at St. Mary's to prepare them against what they'll see on Saturday against San Diego State.
Looking at San Diego State's last 5 played, you got California Baptist University, which is the closest game out of all of these in the last month, which is kind of surprising, 81-75, but I'm going to chalk that up to a Wyoming game that we had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's fair.
You got USD, Fresno, all wins, and they really haven't played a competitive game against a big-time opponent since Houston back in the end of November. So we're looking at almost a month here before they've played, a battle-hardened opponent. So looking at that might play into the Aggies' favor because they just went to St. Mary's, picked up a big win, and now just taking that trip down the coast, kind of an awkward road trip. I don't know of anybody that's going from St. Mary's, San Diego, and to go to Reno. Usually you would skip the Reno part of that, but
if you can, yeah.
I think their schedules, they haven't had really a tough opponent. So this, they're ranked. We hear trap games and stuff like that. I don't think San Diego State's, looking past the Aggies at all, but reading some of the comments and the precursors and stuff, it's kind of funny. The media and the fans of the Aztecs believe this will be easy. But the money is actually coming in on the Aggies. It opened at 4.5 points down a deficit, and then now down to 3.5 as we get close.
Yeah, it's moving in Utah State's favor. They're still the underdogs in this one. But you're right. There are more people kind of jumping in on this, thinking, "Hey, this could be closer than what some of these odds makers are kind of indicating."
Well, the St. Mary's game wasn't supposed to go that way. The odds makers thought St. Mary's was going to win, a 5.5 point favorite, and we saw what Coach Calhoun thought of those prognostications.
Yes. So let's actually circle back on some of those comments from Coach Calhoun as he talked specifically about San Diego State as we continue to preview the Aggies and the Aztecs. And KVNU game day coverage will begin Saturday at 3. Stockton Jukes will be making his way back home. I think he's flying back tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I talked to him this morning. He's in a good mood. He had Waffle House this morning, so he's all happy.
No wonder he's in a good mood. But yeah, KVNU game day will start at 3. Tip-off will be at 4. But here's what Coach Calhoun had to say earlier this week about San Diego State, giving us a bit of an overview of the Aztecs and what the Aggies might see on Saturday afternoon in San Diego.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is who wins the turnover battle. They do a really good job at turning people over. We do a really good job as well. So I think both teams' strength is their defense and their ability to turn people over. So we got to have a good positive assist to turnover ratio. Can't be in the negative. That means we got to pass the ball well. They take you out of a lot of stuff with their size. They're the number 1 shot blocking team in the country. So as you get down below the free throw line by the Mountain West logo, you have to make good decisions. I say that every day. We work on that every day. So you got to play off the 2 feet and get to some floaters and really be efficient around the basket.
Yeah, San Diego State is, they're always known to be a pretty aggressive defensive team in what they do. But when you look at turnovers forced per game, Utah State ranks 16th in the country. San Diego State, 148th. So Utah State is actually the better team by a decent margin here. They average about 3 more steals per game forced, turnovers per game forced than San Diego State does. But, still, San Diego State is a good defensive team that will challenge your shot, and they will try to be disruptive as you're bringing the ball up and try to create turnovers. So this is a very good defensive team that the Aggies are facing. And as Coach says, the Aggies will have to be on point with how they handle the ball, handle some of that pressure. And having Drake Allen back could be a huge asset in being able to handle that. I know there's been times where he's been a little bit shaky in pressure situations, and Jordy Barnes has done a better job of handling that pressure. But I think he has improved, and he's just a little bit more of a veteran presence that can help Utah State. So having him available helps in a lot of different ways. Jordy, I think, does do a better job handling pressure and kind of quarterbacking the offense. but he's not really an offensive threat. We did see him score some at St. Mary's on Saturday, which was awesome, but he kind of did that because he had to. He wasn't really looking for it. Not that Drake is always looking for it, but he can contribute more on offense as a scorer than Jordy Barnes. So the last time I looked, the end of the day, the thing that determines wins versus losses is who scored more points than the other guys. So if you got somebody who can do those things and score, then you're off to a better chance.
So let's jump in the Wayback Machine real quick and say Drake's available and healthy for the end of the St. Mary's game. Sometimes the Aggies like to test my heart health a little bit towards the end of the game, just a little bit. And I appreciate that. Keep me young and healthy. But in that situation, that's where I've got to wonder out loud if a veteran leadership, with Drake's been, older, he's got the experience on the floor, if he's able to go out there and read that situation and also be that scoring threat, so they can't just look at Ian and Mason and try to, lock them down. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. Another thing, Eric, is we have been notorious for some cold starts shooting, and that could be really rough. The Aztecs on defense, holding opponents to 34.8% on the floor, which is number one in the Mountain West, and according to this, third in the nation.
Yes.
And then from the arc, it's not any better, 29%. I mean, the Aggies, there was a point in the St. Mary's game where we started 2 for 7 from the floor, 0 for 3 from three-point. I'm not sure. Well, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe that because I think Coach Calhoun's team can come back and do anything with the adjustments that he's shown and how the team adapts to the current situation there is. But this is really not the game you want to start cold. You want to come out and start feeling it, start taking good shots and executing the game plan that they have. It's kind of crazy when you see the inbounds passes, the inbounds play that Calhoun and his staff has. The execution's amazing. It's like you can almost guarantee it's going to be a 90% that we're going to score points off the inbound. You just see an execution like that across the game plan against the Aztecs, including shooting. I think it's a big win for us on Saturday.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Points are a premium against San Diego State. 22nd in the country in scoring defense. They make it tough with the turnovers that they force. The number one team in shots blocked. And so having guys on the floor who can score, that's going to be a premium. And so Ian Martinez has had some great games, but he's had some games where he's been a little bit quiet or he was just forcing a little too much. He's got to have a good game. Mason's got to have a good game. Carson Templin off the bench. Dexter Acano. I mean, you have to have multiple guys who are going to be able to make their shots to give the Aggies a chance to win in a place that they haven't been able to win in 25, 26 years.
I think we talked about a little bit yesterday about not hitting on all cylinders yet for this team. It'd be a great time tomorrow afternoon for this team to hit all 8 cylinders and then hit the nitrous and just gas the Aztecs out of the building. And it's possible. This team, like we said, hasn't hit on all cylinders. And if you get all those guys playing in sync, and I feel like Coach Calhoun is slowly getting it there, like just slowly working it down to perfect. And it's a process over the season. And basically you want conference, championship time and tournament time. You want to be at your peak. And the way I see him tuning up this sports car with the Aggies, I think we're going to get there. And there's an opportunity after that St. Mary's win. This team's gassed and they're ready to go in there and just knock out these Aztecs.
Well, and it's Christmas break.
No students.
Their students are going to be limited. They'll still have some there who will try to show up for this game because not all of them are from out of the area. And they know it's a pretty big game. But they won't be in quite as full force as perhaps they normally would if this game was later in January or February. So there are some things that are in Utah State's favor in this matchup on Saturday. Going to our full court press text line before we call it timeout. 5338 texting in, no more Greg Gumbel, who will be the new face of the NCAA tournament. Yeah, sad news. Greg Gumbel passing away today. How old was he? He was in his early 70s?
78 years old.
Oh, it was late 70s.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was that old. He looked great for being that old.
Yeah, I wish I could look that great. We were talking during the commercial break. I told Eric, I was like, Greg was one of my heroes growing up in broadcasting. And then I realized that I was probably not that cool as a kid growing up. But just one of those, I grew up with him on football every Sunday morning, doing the pregame shows and stuff like that. And, then he moved to, of course, various other things. But cancer sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was part of the CBS Sports family, the Selection Sunday. He was always part of that. He'd anchor that. And a long-time sports broadcaster, 78, after a battle with cancer, passing away. Who will be the new face of the NCAA tournament? Yeah, I don't know. Because you also have, who's the other broadcaster who does like all kinds of sports? You do NCAA games. He's done the NFL. He does the Masters. Hello, friends. That guy.
Oh, man.
Spent time in Utah, and I can't even remember his name. Anyway, he's pretty much retiring or slowing things down. So you're going to have some new faces, several new faces in the NCAA tournament this spring, I'm sure. The 9315 texting in. This would be the year for a win on the road tomorrow. Lots in our favor. 1, the odds for a win favor USU with how many times we have lost at SDSU so far. 2, also we have lots of players that San Diego State has never seen play for USU. 3, I think USU can finally be the ones to say we can outcoach these guys. And 4, we have great offensive shot percentage numbers. And 5, great defense travels. And USU loves the underdog chip on the shoulder thing. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, there are a number of guys on this Utah State team that the Aztecs have never seen. And they've got a game plan for different style for Utah State this year than what they had last year. And I really like Coach Calhoun and what he's doing. Danny Sprinkle, I thought, was a good coach. I think he was a good tactician as well. But we'll see. Brian Dutcher, very, very good coach. And the last point there, great defense travels. And Utah State has played some very solid defense. And if the shot's not necessarily falling, then at least they can do is slow down the opponents and make it tough for them. And Utah State can do that.
And I think Carson Templin's going to be the key to this matchup with San Diego State. I really do. I think, you got Goon there. Well, we got our own Goon there and Carson that can handle stuff and do acrobats and things. And I think that's where, one of the keys is I think he's going to be a big key to the game. But he frustrates the big and, gets out there and stuff and does just what he does. Like we saw it with Saxton. Saxton was bigger than Carson and had muscle on him, and you wouldn't tell it. Like Carson plays with that elevated status when he's out there on the floor, plays like a 7-footer that you can't push around, and but with agility and able to move and channeling his inner Steph Curry. I mean, like this guy, he's having a great season, and I think that's the key for San Diego State. But I agree with 9315. The defense travels. We're seeing it more. As much as we're talking about the Aztecs defense, not many pundits talking about the Aggies defense or the Aggies scoring. Well, I think there's going to be some opened eyes. There's going to be some surprise tomorrow afternoon after all the results are done, and maybe a little bit more respect coming up here to Logan.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about personnel next after this timeout. We'll get into more of the matchups and other details on the showdown between the Aztecs and the Aggies. Oh, thank you, 5338. Jim Nance. Yes, cannot think of his name. Jim Nance retired from the NCAA tournament.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I just could not think of his name. I could see his face. Just couldn't think of his name.
We need the new generation of broadcasters to maybe tone it down and look at some of these guys that are icons in our sports and realize how to
There's
do
a lot of yelling that goes on in the younger generation.
We could do it with a little more class like Nance and Gumble. I'd like that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to get excited. You just don't have to yell. All right, another quick time out here in the Full Court Press. Love to continue to hear from you as we prepare for Utah State and San Diego State. Give us your score predictions, or if there's a specific player you have in mind who has to have a big game for Utah State to win the game on Saturday in a venue that has always been tough for them. Let us know. 435-339-0321.
Ring in this new year with that special someone or friends and family enjoying delicious food and live music. The New Year's Eve buffet at Riverwoods Conference Center will have you savoring every bite with a hot carving station serving rosemary prime rib and perfectly blackened turkey breasts and more delicious entrees including seafood, ribs, chicken, and pasta, alongside an endless choice of delightful appetizers, side dishes, tasty desserts, and much more. The Riverwoods will also have live music from the band Wildflower. Get your tickets now at theriverwoods.com.
Ski season is coming, which means season ski rentals. This is Mark at the Sportsman, where we have over 20 years of season ski rental experience. We rent to kids and adults. Come in to get season ski rentals for your entire family. We like to wait a little later in the fall because there is a chance your kids might grow out of their boots by the time ski season actually rolls around. Starting at $69.99, you will get the right gear for your kids to ski this year at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan with tons of parking in the back.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
It's the Full Court Press, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, JD Walker. I don't know that we really got a satisfactory definition of Boxing Day yesterday, by the way.
I asked my teenagers, and they said we all throw down and box. And that's fun when they were younger, but now they're a little bit stronger and leave some bruised ribs and black eyes. So, yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. We move on. So looking at Utah State and San Diego State, big showdown in the Mountain West tomorrow. Showdown so big that Fox is going to be airing it. Not Fox Sports, FS1 or FS2. It's not on some side channel. It's on the main channel, the big deal. And it's deservedly so, right? Utah State has had a good start of their year. San Diego State is ranked. They've had a good start. Aggies continue to be a top program in the Mountain West and featuring two powerhouses in the Mountain West Conference. Even though Utah State has gone through several different head coaches, they continue to perform at a very high level. But let's find out a little bit more about the team itself. As we mentioned, we heard all of his comments yesterday from Coach Calhoun. We played that on the show. So if you want to go back and hear everything that he had to say about the Christmas break and how the team's improving and then his thoughts about San Diego State, just go back and listen to our podcast from yesterday and you'll catch that. But today I wanted to zero in more specifically on a few things that he said. And one of them, he talked about their personnel, highlighting their freshman class, which has come in and made an impact, a pretty big impact early on in the season so far.
These guys have real length. One thing that has really surprised me is their freshmen. This freshman class is as good as anybody in the country. They have three kids that are phenomenal players, and then obviously getting Boyd over from Florida Atlantic, a kid that played in a Final Four, is a really, really good player. You know, he has winning pedigree, balls in his hands quite a bit in pick and rolls. I think, Miles Bird is a tremendous player, sophomore, been Mountain West Player of the Week, got great length, can shoot the ball. They just got a lot of guys that come at you. They'll play 9 guys. They're similar to us, so the bench is going to be very important too.
Yeah, so they've got a number of freshmen that are playing large roles. They've got size. They've got 2 freshman 7-footers. We've already talked about Magoon Gwath. Thakbor Majak, he's the other 7-footer freshman. He also mentioned Nick Boyd. This is a guy that Boyd was a transfer. He was somebody who played, as mentioned, in the Final Four at his previous destination before transferring to San Diego State. So it's a mixture of young talent with a number of different guys who have experience. Miles Bird is only a sophomore, but he's 6'7". He's got good length, and he can shoot the ball well. So this is an interesting combination, an interesting mix. Boyd, by the way, 6'3" guard, senior guard for the Aztecs. So this is a team that will go deep and has some length. But as I'm looking at it, JD, it's not like when I was looking at the St. Mary's kind of length. San Diego State has size and they have length, but I don't know that it should be really intimidating in comparison to what the Aggies just saw last Saturday.
Yeah, because when I think of a goon down low, like I think of somebody who's going to push me around a little bit. Magoon is 7 foot, but you know, light as a feather. 200 pounds, that's like my left leg. I mean, this guy, Carson might be body slamming him halfway through the game. So, but you're right. Look in here, it's a very light load. So thinking Isaac, Aubin, Carson, those guys can get in there. Even, you know, you look at it, the rebounding stats here, the Aztecs' leading rebounder isn't one of their big guys. I think it's Boyd, actually, that's the leader of the rebounding for them. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, Bird.
Bird. Yeah, Miles Bird. They're 6'7" guard.
Yeah, at 4'8". And so our guard, Mason, is at 6'5" rebounds per game. So it's going to be a little bit of disparity. I think maybe it's kind of like a paper tiger, paper lion of the size that they've got there that, you know, it looks big outside, but when you start, you know, moving it with some size and stuff and some aggressiveness that we've seen the Aggies come out with. And we heard Mason talk about they want to get aggressive and physical. You know, 200-pound 7-footers don't really stand up to that too well.
Yeah, this is a game that, you know, we were talking about in the South Florida game. No, excuse me, the UC San Diego game. We were concerned that Aubin Gadarazzi got pushed around a little too much and even in the South Florida game, didn't, even though he had smaller guys guarding him, he didn't really take advantage of that. He wasn't as physical as maybe he could have or should have been to claim his rightful space in the paint.
Yeah.
And so we were wondering going to the St. Mary's game, would he be able to do that against bigger, longer competition, guys that are more his size? And he answered that call. And sometimes that happens when you face somebody that is more of a match to you in size, then sometimes those players rise to that occasion. If you're matched against players who are a little bit smaller than you, then sometimes the mentality doesn't engage quite like it should to lock in and punish them for putting a smaller person on you. Sometimes players are like that. And I'm not necessarily diagnosing Aubin Gadarazzi, but sometimes that does happen. And I thought that he answered that call. I didn't think that he was like particularly necessarily a force in the post against St. Mary's, but he did use his length and he did make himself available, and he had some great lob dunks, and he was good around the rim, and he was doing what he could to still frustrate what St. Mary's wanted to do. I think that Carson Templin was probably more effective in his defensive activity, but Gadarazzi didn't hurt the Aggies. I think he was a help to the Aggies, especially on offense. And I think for Saturday against San Diego State, he has to be similar. He can't hurt the Aggies. He needs to help the Aggies, and that can be in a couple of different ways. But he needs to be an asset, not a liability. And I think he can be, and I think he will be.
Just looking at the physical matchup between Magoon and Aubin. Aubin's got, Magoon's got him by 1 inch, but Aubin's got him by 20 pounds. And so looking at the highlights today, yeah, Magoon's blocks and stuff impressive, but he's long and lengthy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Manute Bull, a little bit that stretch kind of out. And if Aubin can use his center of gravity, and then, of course, Carson changing it up there. Carson, I believe, is probably much stronger as a base going up to this guy. So, the more we talk about it, Eric, the more I'm not as worried about the size and this stuff as we get there. But
three of the four top scorers for San Diego State, they're all guards. Now, Miles Bird, he's a big guard. He's 6'7" guard. But Miles Bird, Nick Boyd, and Wayne McKinney III. Those are your top three scorers. Magoon Guath, he's in the top four, but he's a center. But this is when you look at where San Diego State's scoring punch is coming from, it's from their guard line.
Yeah, it's not down low. So, and if that's the case, I have faith in Akano and Alberry and Falslev and Ian and all the front, Jordy Barnes, those front guys, those agitators.
Tucker.
Yeah, all those guys that get out there. And wasn't it great to see Tucker hit that three-pointer in St. Mary's? I know it was his only shot, but you could see the weight of the world jump off that guy's shoulders when he drained that one.
Yes.
But that agitating force that Coach Calhoun has with those guards, I mean, the more we talk about this, the better I'm feeling, the more optimistic I'm feeling, and seeing that line move to more of an even stuff. Because if Magoon and his size, yeah, we've got to figure out the rim protection that they're going to offer. But, the guards can get through that, driving and cutting and dishing. And, if they want to focus on trying to stop us to go to the paint, it's going to leave the guys wide open to shoot those threes. And we've seen, Mason, and hopefully Ian finds his stroke again against the Aztecs.
Couple texts coming in from 9315. Where's the best mismatch for Utah State to capitalize on? That's a good question. Right now, it's kind of strength on strength. I think Utah State's strength is in its guards, and that's pretty much the similar case for the Aztecs. I think the advantage Utah State might have is its bench, its second unit. There's not a lot of drop-off when the second unit comes in. Carson Templin, Dexter, those guys that can come in and play a really important role for Utah State in continuing to apply that pressure, continuing to attack the basket. So if there's a mismatch there, that might be it.
And I think that becomes a bigger mismatch depending on the amount of minutes that Drake can play.
Yeah.
He plays more, and that bench unit is intact as, Coach Calhoun is deploying it.
How does Dayton get used?
Yeah,
right?
So it's like Dayton comes in, and, the Akano comes in, and they offer changes of paces, and I just love the fire that they have. But that's a part of that second unit that works together as a team to accomplish their goals and execute the game plan. So Drake being back is huge for every kind of rotation going on. Even if he's just back in for limited minutes, to be able to be out there on the floor, to be able to, give guys a breath and stuff like that. But I think you're right. I think the bench, what we see, the first adjustments we always see is that first, line change that Coach usually does. And Coach Calhoun, his staff, that second unit, it feels like they're just really in it together, and they know exactly what they want to execute when they go out there, because if things are going slow or things are going great, that second unit comes out and executes at a high level almost every time.
A couple more texts coming through, and some of these I'm not sure I understand or follow, but we'll read them and try to make sense of it. Will or did the Aztec before he season put rocks in their shoes to inflate the weight numbers even further to make a scary nothing burger?
I'm maybe rocks in the pockets. Magoon is, he looks like a telephone pole out there, but and he's only I think he's a redshirt freshman.
He's a freshman.
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll go back in a couple of years, and when the guy's eating it in and out a couple of times, and Portillo's down there, he puts on 20, 30 pounds of muscle. Ouch.
Yeah, and so I'll take weight over just an inch of height any day from 9315. And you're right. Yeah, if size is similar within an inch or two, but there's like a 15, 20 pound advantage, well, you go with the guy that has the weight. Sometimes not having weight can make, you may have a little more spring in your step. You might be able to get higher, but it's not like Aubin's can't get off the floor. So that will be an interesting matchup in the game. And if and also how the Utah State Aggies utilize Isaac Johnson. He's had games where he's been kind of quiet. Isaac tends to kind of take his time before he really gets going. Will this be one of those games where he gets going? Because sometimes with the brightest lights, he can shine. So will Saturday be one that we rediscover Isaac Johnson?
Another one with Carson, something he mentioned that went under the radar in our interview, his 7-foot wingspan that he has.
Yeah.
That's also weight size. You give a 6'8" guy with the drive that he has, that kind of wingspan. Yeah, that's a equalizer there, size and height too.
Yeah, and just how he grows as a player defensively to play smart. So he doesn't pick up a lot of fouls, because this could be one of those games where he might want to try to be over aggressive and do more than probably he should, and then all of a sudden find himself with 3 fouls and he has to sit on the bench. So he's got to be mindful of playing defense smartly, not just with your hands, but it's more important that you're on the floor than being on the bench.
And real quick before, I know we got to hit a break here, but San Diego State men's basketball X account just announced that they have additional tickets available. $31. The sections that are opened up, the student section.
Of course.
Yep.
That's good. So, hey, let's, are there any flights to San Diego State tonight?
I tell you what. Stockton can do it back from the studio. You and I will just sit courtside and say, welcome back to Aggie Game Day. Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be cool. All right, I got to take a timeout. More of your texts. We're getting ready for Utah State and San Diego State, previewing the Aggies and the Aztecs. They tip off tomorrow at 4. Our sister station, KVNU, will start its game day coverage at 3. More about that next here on the Full Court Press.
People gather to give thanks, renew friendships, and celebrate traditions will always be what the holidays are about. This is Brett Green, president of Cache Valley Bank. As we celebrate together, thank you for making us your preferred hometown bank and trusted tradition for achieving your financial needs and ambitions. We wish you a year filled with wonderful memories, good times, safety, and lots of happiness. We think you deserve it. Happy holidays from Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Over the past few years, strong and crazy weather patterns have battered various parts of the country. Northern Utah and southern Idaho are not immune from its share of wild weather. Be prepared for power outages with a Generac backup generator from Golden Spike Electric. They are your local source for Generac sales and service. Generac keeps you in control when bad weather strikes. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
This is Kyle at Advanced Door, and we guarantee every garage door we install for a lifetime, parts and labor. That's every door, every spring, every roller, every track, every motor. The entire garage door system guaranteed for a lifetime, parts and labor. We're Advanced Door, and we guarantee you'll be hearing this for a long time. Find out more at advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, JD Walker, 435-339-0321. If you want to be a part of the program, previewing Utah State and San Diego State, there was a site, it's like a fan site for San Diego State. I forget what it's even called, like Montezuma's Revenge.
Fans of Montezuma, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the herd needs to realize that they've been talking smack. And so when they come to visit, you guys need to let any Aztecs that come into the building or the players on the floor, let them know we don't deal with that disrespect too well, yeah.
Yeah, they put together a list of the top teams to hate in the Mountain West.
Oh.
Okay.
I almost shared that and put a comment in it, but It's Christmas still in my head, so I'm not going to choose violence today. But yeah, it irritated me a little bit. But
well, they had Utah State as the number one team to hate.
Yeah,
and I'm going to paraphrase, but I have to give them credit for some creative writing. They said they kind of compared Utah State to that movie villain. Oh, here it is. Utah State is a villain in slasher movies who incomprehensibly keeps getting up and coming after you. They just won't go away no matter how much you think you have them down. So
I kind of like that.
I have to give them credit for that creative writing. Yeah. But you're right. Utah State does keep getting back up. They change athletic directors. They hire another great coach. That coach leaves, and another athletic director comes along, and they still hire another great coach. Utah State has basketball down.
Yeah, and the Aztec, I think one of the burns in there was our coach has been here for 26 years. And I was like, well, that's great. I'm glad that nobody's wanted to take your coach to the next level or that he hasn't done enough to elevate himself to go get poached. Like, that's okay. We'll have a little sympathy for you there. But here, we don't rebuild. We reload.
Yeah, we reload. But this is a big showdown. San Diego State is favored by 3.5 in this one. A couple different metrics sites that I've looked at kind of put it in that same neighborhood. The betting lines, remember, they sometimes will set lines to encourage people to spend money and to bet money. And apparently, the way that line was set earlier, they thought it was a little too aggressive for the Aztecs, and they're giving a little bit more to the Aggies in this one. But look, this is a good defensive team, San Diego State is. They may not score a ton of points. They might not have a super dynamic scorer like they've had in the past, but they have a lot of different guys who can contribute. And this is a good defensive team. Number one team in the country in blocks. This is one of the top teams in the country in creating, not one of the top, but a very good team in creating turnovers. One of the top teams in scoring defense. So scoring comes at a premium in Viejas. And so where is that scoring going to come from? From Utah State. Can the Aggies do what they normally do without getting themselves in foul trouble with their aggressive matchup zone? So I think this is going to be a fun matchup. I'm really looking forward to this. And I'm really encouraged by what I saw this last Saturday against St. Mary's. There were some games earlier in this season that, yeah, the Aggies won. They allowed the opponents to make it closer than it should have been, but losing to UC San Diego, I think, dialed this team in again mentally. I just worry that this break between games wasn't too much. I would have loved to see this game be played like on Tuesday after that victory against St. Mary's.
Yeah, the way Coach talks. Even after the victory in St. Mary's, like Coach always is positive. But then he'll be like, we had this many turnovers and we're going to work on that. I'm like, I almost hear like, we're going to work this out of these guys no matter what. By the end of the season, we're going to be 0 turnovers. I think Coach is on that, and the intensity has to be there. I think losing against UC San Diego, I think that was a little bit of a, like, let the pressure out a little bit, just kind of, all right. And St. Mary's was a great win. Little shaky at the end, like they give me that cardiac stuff. So, this one, there's a reason it's on Fox. There's a reason it's on Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
I mean, the bowl games have been amazing, but you'll hear me yelling from the conference room at 4:00 on Saturday afternoon.
Something else to watch for is Utah State's ability to put San Diego State in foul trouble. As I said, I like Utah State and how they continue to attack opponents. Utah State is they're 51st in the country in free throw attempts per game and 40th in free throws made per game. By contrast, San Diego State is 323rd out of 355 in free throw attempts per game, 326th in free throws made per game. Yeah. So which is interesting. They're a very good defensive team. But they don't really get to the free throw line in how they attack offensively. Utah State attacks offensively, and they get to the free throw line. And so that's going to be interesting how Utah State is able to manufacture points at the free throw line with the clock stopped. A couple more texts real quick before we hit another timeout. 8968. From what I've seen, there isn't much mismatch on either side. It should be a slugfest. Could be. And then 9315, doing the Lord's work there, finding out there are flights to San Diego. If you want to pony up, you could fly on nonstop tonight at just before 11 o'clock. If you got $617 lying around in your bank account, you can do a direct flight from Salt Lake to San Diego this evening and catch the Aggies tomorrow afternoon.
Or, hear me out, we rent a bus. We clear out. We go to Top Stop. We clear out all their monsters and rock stars. And we take the 11-hour road trip. I'm in charge of the music, though. But somebody else needs to drive because I'll get thinking about the game and we'll end up doing 90 or 100 down the freeway. But yeah, that'd be a great road trip in San Diego in late December. Come on, that's great.
Yes,
go out to Coronado Island.
All right, we've got to take a time out. We'll discuss any other thoughts that you have coming in, predictions, or who needs to have a big game tomorrow for the Aggies. We'll also look at the bowl season. We've had some doozies so far the last couple of days. How are the Bulls today? And we've got some other big ones coming up this weekend. We'll take a quick look next on the Full Court Press.
Many Aggie fans like to go to the game. Some fans love to yell at the TV, and all fans like to wear a shirt or a jacket with their favorite team's logo. Aggie fans find the best selection of USU logoed apparel at Locker 42. Find yourself an Aggie t-shirt for $10. Locker 42 features Aggie logoed hoodies, jackets, and golf shirts, and a hat wall with over 40 styles. Women's specific apparel, youth sizes for the junior Aggie, and toddler and infant Aggie items as well. Locker 42 is a store for Utah State fans by Utah State fans, and proud to be part of Aggie Nation.
Don't neglect your appliances this holiday season. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. Daryl's has an elite team of factory-trained technicians plus a huge parts department, which often means a same-day fix. We offer an exclusive no-risk diagnosis. If you change your mind, you can apply the repair to the cost of a new machine. Give Daryl's a call today. One of our background-checked and drug-tested technicians will get you going quickly. Daryl's west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Disasters don't wait for a convenient time. When the unexpected strikes, call the trusted team at Blue Sky. Remember, Blue Sky is that same great ARS team you know and trust.
This is Tom with Blue Sky Restoration. When disaster strikes, whether it's a flood, fire, mold damage, or an unforeseen accident, Blue Sky will clean up, repair, and restore your home or business like it was before. No disaster is too big or too small. For all your restoration needs, you can trust our Blue Sky team.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagoner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Your locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts supplies parts to over a dozen local Napa Auto Care centers who have ASE certified mechanics. Places like HK Auto in Dayton or Brent Allen Automotive in Logan, even Hiram Tire in Hiram. They trust Napa Auto Parts, and you can too. Utah State preparing to take on San Diego State tomorrow. Our sister station KVNU will start its KVNU game day coverage at 3. Tip-off is at 4. You can listen to the full pregame, full play-by-play, and post-game on KVNU, and an Aggie call as well. The game itself, if you want to watch it, will be on Fox. So headline coverage right there for the Utah State Aggies. 8968 texting in. Ian has been shooting a lot of poor shots lately. I hope he cleans that up, and I think he will be fine, or we will be fine.
I think he's just trying to find a stroke a little bit. That's fine. He can take the time he needs. He's earned it, and what I saw from Ian this last game against St. Mary's was maturity. He knew his three-point shot wasn't there. Took it to the hoop.
Yeah. 9315. When was the last time they had a weather delay in a bowl game?
Today, the Birmingham Bowl has been delayed by thunder or by lightning, and apparently it's been down for about 35 minutes or so.
Boise had a big delay. In fact, they had to cancel it. They couldn't continue it. Their game, it was somewhere in Texas. Who was it? They were facing Memphis, maybe?
They should do it like the MLB does and then just pick it up like 3 months later during a nice sunny spring day and continue it.
We're going to resume the game now.
It'd be the highest watched college football game in the spring ever.
Yeah, that's right. Out of the middle of nowhere. Two teams facing each other. Rosters completely different. Maybe even coaching staffs could be different because of transfer portal stuff. Not a lot of time to get into it, but bowl season has been fun. Sometimes, bowl season is, you can sleep through it until New Year's Eve. If you've been doing that, you have sorely missed some great, great football games. And they've been down to the wire. We've had multiple overtime games.
It's amazing.
We had a great one earlier today with Navy beating Oklahoma 21-20. We got more bowl games on the schedule tomorrow. We got a Mountain West school involved tonight and one tomorrow. So I'll update you on all that Mountain West Conference bowl schedules, others that are worth watching and not missing. And we'll also get into the top sports moments of 2024. And I'd love to get your nominations for those as well. 435-339-0321.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Whenever a talented team comes up short in the NBA, the franchise is quick to look to add some firepower. Suns added Kevin Durant. Bucks traded for Dame Lillard. But the flaw isn't always that deep. Sometimes all it takes is a new voice in the locker room. The Golden State Warriors were bounced in the first round in 2013 under Mark Jackson. Steve Kerr won 67 games and an NBA title the following year. The Celtics have had a similar experience replacing Brad Stevens. Ime Udoka was brought in to help the team. They went to the finals in year one. Joe Mazzulla helped win that same core a title in 2024. This season is still young, but the addition of Kenny Atkinson is beginning to have a similar effect on the Cavaliers. Cleveland's still far from a title, but with the Cavs boasting the best offenses and best record in the NBA, maybe chasing star talent isn't always the best solution. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.